Okay, once again, welcome everyone to tonight's webinar on the value of ASE certification. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to drop by. We're really glad that you could be with us. Tonight's event is being recorded for review at a later date and time. So if you know someone who couldn't join us this evening, by all means, mention it to them so they can visit the session later. We usually put the recorded event up within 24 hours, so watch your email for a follow-up and look to the ASE website news and events, and then in the multimedia subsection. Now let me introduce tonight's webinar team. Our featured speaker tonight is Tony Molla, the Vice President of Communications here at ASE. Joining us tonight from ASE's Test Development Department, we have Dan Baumhart. Dan's going to help us out with some of your questions about the ASE program. My name is Dave Cappert, and I'll be helping with facilitating tonight's session. Again, thanks for joining us. Just want to quickly go over the online interface. The viewer window on the left is where you're going to see the content that we are displaying, and most everything you see will be right there. Also, you have a control panel which will be on your right, and since you cannot speak with us live, your means of communicating back to us would be through the questions pane, and we have got that circled there. So you will type your question in. That will go into the questions window that we can monitor. And speaking of questions, we'll do our best to try to address questions as we go through tonight's presentation, but we'll also have a Q&A session at the end, so we'll just have to see how that goes because some of it is dependent on the size of the audience here tonight. Okay, now I just want to mention a note about mobile devices. Some of you are joining us on these devices, and I'm pleased to report that both the iOS and the Android OS now give full webinar functionality. That wasn't always the case. Just in case you don't have that app installed, you can get those from either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, formerly the Android market, if you don't already have those installed. So you'll need to do that in order to get the full operation. Okay, and with that, we are now going to move over to Mr. Tony Molla. So let us switch screens here. And take it away, Tony.
Thanks, Dave, and good evening. And everybody should be able to see my screen now. Please let Dave know if you can. My name is Tony Molla. I'm the Vice President of Communications with ASE, and it's my pleasure to be with you tonight. Talk a little bit about the value of ASE. We all know what ASE certification is, but often we miss the subtle things, the subtle benefits that the certification program provides, both to individuals and to the companies that employ them. And I'm hoping to show some of these benefits this evening. What we're going to do is go through, first of all, a little quick update on what ASE is, a little bit about the mission, talk a little bit about what ASE certification is. Then I'm going to get into the value of ASE, tell you a little bit about what's in it for me, whether you're a shop owner or an individual technician, talk a lot about the impact on the key performance indicators, both as personal achievement goals and as company goals. And then we'll cover a little bit about what's new and then have some time for questions. So without further ado, let's talk about what ASE is, where we came from. ASE was established in 1972 as a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the quality of automotive service and repair through the voluntary testing and certification of automotive technicians. Now, what does that mean? Well, back in those days, there was a lot of fear about what was perceived as fraud in the automotive service industry. When the National Associations of Attorneys General did an investigation, they found out it wasn't so much fraud as it was incompetence. At the time, there was talk of developing a licensing program, but the industry didn't really feel that licensing would address the core issue, which was measuring and making sure that the technicians had the correct knowledge necessary to cope with the changing automotive technology. ASE certification was created to give the industry and the individuals that yardstick, to give them a weather vane, if you will, as to where they were on their knowledge level with respect to the current automotive technology. ASE was created as a voluntary program on purpose, and that little patch you see on the left, some of you may remember, is the very first ASE master patch. That was the original double gear that was around until about the 80s when we changed to the single patch today. And that brings us to our first poll question. We'd like to get a little bit of information from you about what age demographic you're in. So Dave is going to launch a poll right now and really quickly give us an idea of what age group you fall in so we have a better idea of what our audience is. And I see we're going right along. The average age of the ASE certified technicians in our database is somewhere around 42 or 43. The median age of technicians is in the ASE database is about 43 years old. A lot of people are worried about the average age of technicians in our industry. Some measurements by the Department of Labor show that about 50% of the individuals working on cars and trucks in this country will be eligible for retirement in the next 7 to 12 years. So there's a great deal of concern as to where we're going to find the new technicians. And we have 81% voted. And if you look at the poll results, you're going to notice that 58% of us on the call tonight are between 51 and 66, which gives credence to what I just said about our aging technician population. Let's move on. And Dave, if you turn the screen back over to me, we will proceed. Okay. ASE certification basically is a national credential. It's recognized by all industry segments and most importantly was industry developed and industry maintained. What this means is that the tests themselves are created by workshops. ASE holds workshops by inviting subject matter experts. The content experts, we include working technicians, educators, engineers, other specialists well-versed in the technical area being tested. The average ASE test is updated every 2 to 3 years, and the exception being the advanced series, which is updated every year. And one nice thing about ASE certification is, first of all, it's a proven process. The system that ASE uses to measure the knowledge that we say we do is scientifically valid. It's a third-party assessment, which is important because it can be used as the yardstick regardless of where the training comes from to measure the effectiveness of that training. And ASE has over 40 years of certification experience doing this. In fact, the ASE process is regarded as one of the great examples of how to do a very large program such as ours correctly by the certification industry itself. What is certification according to ASE? Well, the first thing it is a passing score on a test. You all know about that. There's also an experience requirement. Everyone's familiar with the 2-year experience requirement, but actually that's changed now that we have a new testing category in maintenance and light repair, which only requires 1 year of experience. The advanced L series now requires 3 years of experience. In any case, the certifications are good for 5 years, and passing all of the required tests in a series earns master technician status. There is no master technician in series that only have 1 or 2 tests. Parts specialist is a good example. Service consultant is another. The testing program itself, ASE used to test basically 2 days a year. In the spring and in the fall, if you were recertifying. We tested 6 days a year overall for first-time test takers. But we've changed all that. With the move to computer-based testing, ASE is now offered at secure proctored locations delivered via computer all year long. There's basically 4 test administrations per year, operating in a cycle of 2 months on, 1 month off, starting in January. And the test centers offer a choice of testing times and locations. The nice thing about the new testing program that everyone seems to like is that the results are delivered immediately at the test center. You know how you did when you get up and walk out. No more waiting for test results. ASE has also developed a certification career path, enveloping some of those the new certifications I mentioned, and something else that we're just launching, which is an ASE student certification. Many states require students getting out of career and technology education programs to have some sort of a professional credential. Many schools were using the actual ASE certification test as this credential, which was unfortunate because the tests really weren't designed to do that, and the failure rate among students was just incredibly high. The new student certification test is designed to measure just the knowledge that the students are learning within the schools. That would be their first step, if you will, on the ladder of certification. The student certification is only good for 2 years, by the way, and then it goes away. There is no recertification component to it. It's meant to be an entry-level credential and nothing more. The next step up would be the maintenance and light repair certification, which we just launched this summer. Required work experience, as you see, is 1 year, and again, the duration of the certification is good for 5. The normal ASE certifications, the ones that we are most familiar with, the A series, the B series, and all the others, require 2 years worth of experience, and again, good for 5 years, as is the L1 and L2, which again has recently been raised to 3 years worth of experience as a qualification. Those of you who have been with the program since the beginning know that 5 years has been the standard, so the new 1-year requirement and the 3-year requirements are brand new. Which brings us to our second poll. We'd like to know a little bit about you as far as how long you've been certified. So Dave, if you will launch that poll, we would like to know how long you've held ASE certification. And as the polls are going, ASE does have a 25-year recognition medallion for those of you who may have received one of those. And we are constantly evaluating ways to recognize our long-term certified employees. Holding ASE certification has been a badge of honor since the 70s, as I had mentioned, and we have many, many of our technicians that have been with us almost that entire time, although more and more of them, it seems, are being retired. But this is an interesting statistic. We are at 72% and counting, but as you can see, our audience this evening is mostly young folks, less than 5 years, or certainly with 6 to 15, about a quarter of them. Although again, that 26 to 35 group is still representing a fair amount of our certified professionals, and taken with the oldest group, you'll notice that it's about 32%, so almost a full third of the technicians that are on this call are among our older technicians, if you will, which again would track with the poll earlier. We'll let this run for a few more seconds to see if these statistics hold. And there we go. Again, as you can see, 26% less than 5 years. It's about evenly split between that and the mid group. And then again, 31% of our technicians are 26 years or older in grade. That's an interesting snapshot, if you will, of our industry as well, and maybe indicative of what the larger population actually looks like, although this is not a scientific poll. Okay, David, if you will shut that down and turn the screen back over, we will continue. And
You're good to go, Tony. It's back over to you.
okay. Let's talk a little bit about the value of ASE. We obviously know ASEs provide certification credentials to the industry, but if you are an organization, especially a larger organization, a fleet operation or whatever that has more than 50 employees, the same rules apply to you as apply to Boeing or any other large corporation. If you're going to promote an individual or have a salary differential from one to another, you better have a pretty good reason for doing so. This is another advantage ASE certification can provide, both to large and small companies. It's a challenging goal. If you're going to task your employees with constant improvement, achieving ASE certification is a great way to do that. There's also a lot of pride and accomplishment. When someone achieves ASE certification, they really feel good about themselves. When we survey our technicians, we ask them why they certify. Largely they tell us, I do it for myself. I'm proud of the achievement itself. But it's also important for career enhancement. Many career promotions, etc., are built around achieving certain levels of ASE certification. So holding certifications can actually help you advance in your career, another important value. It's also the largest professional fraternity in the automotive service industry. So that peer recognition that goes along with being part of a much larger group is also an important value of ASE certification. It provides that sense of camaraderie, if you will, that makes us the industry that we are. It also helps improve the industry image. Our recent survey through Frost & Sullivan with consumers show that consumers actually do recognize those professional credentials. And I'll show you some statistics as we move forward that reinforces that. It's also important to mention that it is a recognized national credential. It doesn't matter what the manufacturer is, it doesn't matter what segment of the industry we're talking about, whether it's collision, truck, even internationally in some countries such as Canada. ASE is a recognized symbol of quality. And again, it's that third-party assessment that gives it the validity of being used for an assessment no matter where the training comes from. So it's just as valid a credential, just as valid a measurement of knowledge, whether you're working in a dealership environment or if you're working in an independent repair shop. And that's the idea, to have a common ground, if you will, a level playing field to evaluate the knowledge of the entire industry. How do you use ASE certification? Well, obviously professional credentials is the first tool. You want to have some way to verify that you know what you say you know, and to demonstrate that to consumers and prospective employers. As I had already mentioned, ASE is also used in career development. Many organizations use achieving various levels of ASE certification as part of their career track. There's also a lot of salary differentials that are often tied to ASE certifications and other important differentials that can actually increase your earning potential. As I mentioned, it's a very good assessment tool for determining weaknesses and helping to target training. And these days we're all worried about resources, and being able to target your training resources so that they're most effective is an important advantage, for especially if you own a business or if you're working with large numbers of technicians where training is a significant portion of your budget. But perhaps the most important thing about ASE certification is the marketing advantage it gives to the retail shops. Consumers do in fact recognize the logo. They may not be able to tell you what the ASE means, but they do recognize it as a symbol of quality. And in fact, consumers, we are told, are looking more and more for these types of assurances that their money is being well spent, that the people that are working on their vehicles and providing services for them are qualified to do so. ASE certification can help you demonstrate that value to your customers. My personal feeling is three very important things that ASE certification is used for are what I call the 3 R's: recruitment, retention, and recognition. As we saw from our polls earlier, we're going to need to replace a great number of technicians within the next 7 to 12 years. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to have to recruit more young people into our business. And to do that, we're going to have to demonstrate that this is a viable career. The old grease monkey image is being dispelled. Most individuals working on vehicles these days are dealing with extremely high-tech equipment, extremely sophisticated computer networks. In fact, being an automotive diagnostician these days is pretty much being a network engineer. Most vehicles, in fact, virtually every system of the vehicle, up to and including the emergency brake on some cars, is electronically controlled. And this increasing electronic complexity is adding a new dimension to our industry that's going to require lifelong training. It is absolutely a professional endeavor, and again, recruiting individuals into the industry is going to require an improvement in our image, which ASE helps to achieve. But once you get them in, you have to keep them in. And again, if you're going to keep a good employee, you have to take care of a good employee and let them know that you care about them and about their career development as much as they do. That is part of the retention program, and ASE certification can help you do that. The recognition is self-evident. A lot of businesses celebrate the fact that they have certified professionals on staff and will actually hold events to recognize their achievements when they achieve Master Tech, etc. In fact, ASE itself has launched Automotive Service Professionals Week a number of years ago in order to have a specific time during the year where we can recognize and thank those individuals who really keep the American mass transit system moving, which is our personal vehicles. But what's in it for me? Well, if you're an individual or a shop owner, there's public trust and recognition. Consumers definitely associate the ASE logo with trust and competence. The Frost & Sullivan research showed us that. There are many, many technician recognition programs out there. In fact, I have the honor of being the judge for the NAPA Technician of the Year in a couple of weeks. That's just one of many that are out there that actually recognize individuals, and one of the qualifiers is to be ASE certified, among other things. ASE certification is definitely a hallmark of top performance. We'll see some data in a little bit that will show us that. It also indicates increased earning potential. The data again shows that ASE certified professionals tend to be more productive and tend to be better compensated than their non-certified peers. We have something called the Blue Seal of Excellence Recognition Program, which is an additional enhancement to help promote your business to consumers. In fact, the Blue Seal shops are the only ones that we recommend to consumers on the ASE Shop Finder. And ASE certification is a part of many OEM and aftermarket programs. For example, if you want to be a Toyota technician, ASE certification is part and parcel of the Toyota training program. If you want to be a AAA shop, it's required to have an ASE certified master technician in your business. Those types of relationships are very common, and even on the collision side, many insurance companies will now recognize ASE Blue Seal as a qualifier for some of their direct repair programs. So there's many advantages, business advantages, of having ASE certified employees in your business. But it's that assessment of training effectiveness that perhaps is the most important value that ASE certification provides. Being able to know exactly where your technicians and where your professionals are in their knowledge chain helps you to target training, as we said, and improve everyone's performance and effectiveness within the business. And now it's time for poll number 3. I had mentioned that ASE certified technicians tend to have higher earnings than those non-certified counterparts that they have in the industry. And I have some data that will show that, but we'd like to know before we get there exactly how are you compensated for being ASE certified. And at this time, I'll ask Dave to launch that poll. If you're not compensated in any way, shape, or form, simply don't answer. But I'd be curious to see exactly how your employers recognize the value of ASE certification. And we are quickly seeing a very typical response, which is that most employers actually pay the certification fees. That is the registration fee and the cost of ASE certification. Again, another value, because the credential itself is personal. The individual technician is the one who holds the credential. So your employer is giving you a portable credential that you can take when you leave or if you leave, or go on for whatever the reason. They're giving you something of value. Again, investing in you. As you can see, about 4% have an hourly differential. This is very common in the fleet market, where you will have a different hourly salary range based on the number of certifications that you hold. Bonuses are very common. 12% of you report getting some sort of a bonus for a certification. And that could be cash, or it could be a day off. There's lots of different ways they incorporate a bonus of some kind or other into their program. So again, it could be something as simple as here's a coupon for a dinner for you and your spouse at a nice restaurant. There's many different ways that companies will compensate them. I notice about 7% of you report an additional perk from Master. Again, another very common compensation or common perk for being ASE certified. And a full third of you reported that some other form of compensation. And I think when we get to 2 minutes, Dave, we can close this. But again, the message here is that almost half of those of you who reported being compensated report having the certification fees paid by your employer. But the lesson here is that among this list, as you can see, at least 56% of our audience report some form of compensation for being certified, yet another value, and leads toward increased earnings. Okay, Dave, and whenever you're ready, we'll proceed.
Okay, Tony, you are good to go.
It a little too far there. I'm going to go through this very quickly. I'd mentioned the Blue Seal of Excellence Recognition Program. You can get more information about this if you're a shop and are interested in being part of this program. As I mentioned, it's the only shops that we excuse me, recommend in our on our shop finder on our website. But it was basically started in 1996, and as you can see, it's made up of every segment in our industry. The largest group are independent repair shops, but we also have collision repair shops, about 23% of them. It's very popular with government and civil service and fleet operations. In fact, that's one of the fastest growing areas. But you can see we have tire dealers and new car dealerships and basically miscellaneous shops. So it's a very good cross-section of the industry, showing the widespread value of being part of our Blue Seal program, which again will actually drive business to your door by being part of our shop finder that when consumers come looking for an ASE certified technician. Let's talk a little bit about data. We talked a little bit about how ASE certification improves the individual and gives you benefits, but how do we know that? How do we know that for sure? Well, we've done a couple of studies. The first one was done in 2005, and we did this with our fleet partners, and we looked for correlations between the number of ASE certifications and four things: accuracy, productivity, performance, and compensation. And in that 2005 validation study, we showed very positive correlations between all of this. So in 2007, the Bureau of Automotive Repair did their own consumer survey. ASE had nothing to do with it. But they surveyed 1,000 California consumers. And in that survey, 92% rated technician qualifications as very important when selecting a repair facility. So as I had said earlier, the consumers do recognize the value of professional credentials, and they certainly recognize the value of ASE certification, at least in that California survey. Well, from that 2005 data, and encouraged by this, we did another survey in 2010 just to see if anything had changed. And here we looked at actual business metrics. Before we had done the survey with our fleet partners, we wanted to see if the same would hold true in 2010 across a much wider range. So this time, we not only included fleets, but we included dealer operations, independents, with that list. We wanted to make sure we had shops that had both certified and non-certified employees. And you can see nobody was 100% certified, but the dealers had about 76% of their employees certified. The fleets had about 91%, and the independents had about 89%. Overall, shops had about 9.93 employees, and about 85% of them were ASE certified. So they had a frame of reference to compare the performance of one to another. And here's what they found. When we looked at productivity, employer data indicated that the productivity rate of those who are ASE certified measured 40% higher than those who are not certified. And let me caution something here. These are general statistics. Your actual results may vary, but it is a clear hallmark of higher performance, and you'll see that hallmark theme carried through the rest of our data here. But again, these were actual work orders that were looked at and productivity rates that were measured from one technician to another. So this isn't an opinion poll. This is an actual business metric poll. When we looked at comeback rates, ASE certified technicians recorded a 60% decrease in the comeback rate overall compared to their non-certified peers. Again, another positive correlation. We also looked at first-time fix rate. And in terms of first fix, ASE certified technicians recorded a 28% overall increase over their non-certified peers. Again, correlation does not necessarily mean causation, but there's a clear indication that a strong correlation exists. And again, most shop owners that we interviewed agreed that ASE certification was a hallmark of top performance. One of the things they look for when they're hiring folks and when they're looking to improve their operations. Now again, although your actual results will vary from business to business, the metrics reported in the survey offer compelling evidence associating ASE certification with improved business results. And in addition, when we asked employers, they strongly agree that certification yields better key performance indicators when it's incorporated into their overall business model. We also followed up with an opinion survey to see if they felt the same way that the numbers said. And in a follow-up opinion, the employers identified ASE certification as a clear hallmark of excellence among their technicians. And they also, and this is important, shop owners also surveyed, 100% of them preferred to hire ASE certified technicians over non-certified applicants. And this may be, again, one of the more key advantages individually for ASE certification, especially in this economy. Anything that can give you a leg up on the competition for finding a job is something that we definitely would consider to be a good thing in this economy. And ASE certification has clearly been shown to be one of the things that you need to have in your quiver when you are going for a job interview to separate you from everyone else. We're almost at the end here, but I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the value beyond the simple certification program. We have been talking a little bit about the worries the industry has about replacing, the existing technician workforce. This is a growing concern. We don't seem to have a problem getting an appointment to fix our cars these days, but again, as the demographics clearly show, an aging technician workforce coupled with not a whole lot of young folks joining the industry indicates a very dire situation if we don't do something to address it. ASE, for their part, is expanding their mission. We have formed something called the ASE Industry Education Alliance, which is a combination of ASE, the National Automotive Technicians Education Foundation, something called Automotive Youth Educational Services, which used to be just a dealership program, and the Automotive Training Managers Council to help provide the entry-level and qualified technicians and other automotive professionals that we're going to need today and tomorrow, and to also provide that lifelong learning opportunities through the Automotive Training Manager Council and others to make sure that we are keeping up with changing automotive technology. So beyond just providing professional credentials, ASE is growing its mission in trying to provide the actual individuals that our industry is going to need to continue our success. Let's talk a little bit about what's new. Some of you may already be aware of our new maintenance and light repair certification. That we had a pilot test in January, and we actually launched the test in the summer certification window, which is just closing. This test will be now available in all the ASE certification windows. The next opportunity to take it you can register September 1st, and we will be testing in October and November. When this certification category was created, some of you may not realize 70% of the work being done in service bays across the country these days is maintenance-based. And the industry came to ASE and said, we need a credential to measure the broader base of knowledge that these individuals need to do automotive maintenance without the in-depth diagnostic component that is very typical of the ASE certification program and something they don't want to lose. Think of the maintenance and light repair certification as the first step on the ladder of success with ASE. This is where every individual who comes out of a career in technology education program will begin their ASE certification experience. And many individuals whose primary function is doing maintenance will now have a credential that will measure a much broader range of their knowledge than simply taking either, say, a brakes or steering and suspension test will do. We're also looking at the high end of the spectrum. We have been looking at hybrid electric certification for quite some time. The industry and the training available has now matured to the point where ASE is developing a light hybrid electric vehicle certification. This will be one of our advanced tests. It'll be an L3 to go along with the L1 engine performance and the L2 diesel test. It's under development right now. It will be available January of 2015. With registration starting December of 2014, so December of next year, you'll be able to register for the new light hybrid electric vehicle certification test, which will be, these two comprise the newest certification categories. Mention in passing that we've also updated the service consultant test, C1, and that certification, that upgrade of the certification test itself is available now and will be available in the winter testing schedule, again, which opens September 1st. And that is all I have right now. I will now throw the floor open to questions. Dave and Dan, have we had any questions we can answer?
Tony, you've done such an absolutely great job that we really don't have too much in the way of it. Dan, you want to go ahead with a question? You got one queued up?
Yeah, I was just, there was a comment asking about the L3, if that was going to be considered as part of a master advanced level certification with that addition. I don't see, go ahead.
Yeah, you're the technical expert there. I don't see that as, we don't actually have a master advanced level, do we, Dave?
We do not, Dan speaking, but we do not have a master advanced level certification at this time. But L3 is a distinct advanced, the hybrid exam will be a distinct exam by itself, and you know, details being worked out at this time, but as Tony said, it'll be launched in January with registration opening in December of 2014, so January of 2015.
Mm-hmm. It should be noted that the L3 will be a true diagnostic test. It's going to be an advanced test. I would imagine there will be some safety information in it, as with all of the hybrid tests, but primarily it's going to be a diagnostic test designed for, again, the higher end technicians. Do we have any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Gee, Dave, I think I either scared everybody or hopefully I did such a good job that everyone realizes some maybe learned a few things they didn't know about the value that ASE provides this evening.
Well, Tony, we got another one
related.
related.
I'd like to leave you with some important dates. The winter 23rd. Go ahead. Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, just wanted to add that we've got a couple others here related to L3 about will the L3 be available only after you have the Master Tech level? And I don't know if we have that figured out yet. And then will there be some info for taking the L3 test? Of course, we always publish the study guides for every one of the ASE certification tests, so the content areas and task lists will be published once they are finalized and the thing becomes more, more of a concrete ASE certification test.
Right. We do know that there will be a prerequisite of some kind for the L3 test, as there is for the L1 and L2, but that is part of the development process, and we haven't quite gotten that far. I believe the next workshop for the hybrid certification, Dan, help me out on this one, I think is in September or October. And
Tony, that's correct. It is in September.
Great. And we will be, that's part of what the finalizing of the specifications will be. And we will begin probably in June of next year sending out to the industry much more detailed information about the test content. The task list and the content areas will be well defined by then. I'm sure that our study guide will be available as early as possible, and as is traditional, I'm sure the aftermarket training providers will be working hammer and tong to develop their aftermarket training materials for the new L3 category, as they have for all of the other categories they offer study guides in.
Tony, we've got another
Any
one
other
here.
Questions on the L3?
Tony, not on L3. Again, everybody, this is Dave speaking momentarily. We do have a question here. Are there any plans to incorporate A9 into Master Auto? My answer on that is no, not that I know of at this point. There are no plans to incorporate it. But again, our groupings of Master Tech and what it requires to become a Master Tech in a given area is decided by the industry. So, if we end up with perhaps more and more diesel content on the road, light-duty diesel, then that may be, maybe the factor that drives that into a Master Tech.
Yeah, but right now we have no plans for making A9 part of the Master Auto requirement.
Hey, Tony, again, Dave, I just want to throw one other comment out in terms of new stuff. I know it wasn't on your slide. I just want to mention to everybody that the ASE Section 609 Recovery and Recycling Program for working on mobile air conditioning systems by law, according to EPA, is under revision, which will include information on HFO 1234YF and R744. So you'll see that coming out later this year.
And that's an important point. We are working hammer. I know Dave is working hard on on updating the CFC booklets, and we will have those ready to go as quickly as we can. Okay, do we have any other questions, comments?
One other we have is a question about how do you get on a workshop, an ASE workshop. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take that question offline. Dan, is that the correct way to handle that and follow up with it?
Yes, I can do that. That would be no problem at all. I think that's the best way to handle that.
Okay, great. Thanks.
And as those of you who want to participate in a workshop probably understand, it is usually a very long list. I think we look for specific areas of expertise, obviously, but that is something that that we do quite a bit of here at ASE. Okay, anything else? I wanted to finish this as quickly as we can, and hopefully we've saved you some time this evening. Just a reminder, our winter test registration opens September 1st with testing and runs through November 21st. Testing opens October 1st and runs through November 30th. There is a survey that will pop up after this webinar is over. Please, if you have the chance, take the time to respond to our survey. Give us your feedback. We use that to continuously improve these, find new topics that you would like us to explore, and in general kind of get a gauge on how we're doing. So please, if you have the opportunity, please respond to our survey and give us some feedback. And as always, for any information on ASE, please visit our website at ase.com. There you will find a wealth of information on the testing program itself, along with some very valuable tutorials on the new well, not so new anymore, I guess, computer-based testing program, how it works. If you've never taken one of our new tests, that will give you a very good overview of how the controls work and what to expect. We also have several tutorials available to help you understand exactly how to answer the ASE test questions. Several webinars we've had already explore the different types of questions, all designed to help you prepare to take an ASE test, and all of our tutorials are absolutely free. So please feel free to take advantage of those. And gentlemen, if you have any final comments with that, Dave, I'll turn it back over to you. I want to thank everybody for your attention this evening. It has been my pleasure to I hope, share a little bit of information with you and perhaps give you a better idea of just what ASE can do for you. As always, if anyone has any follow-up questions, please feel free to let us know, and we will get back to you as quickly as we can. So with that, Dave, I'll turn it back over to you, and thank you all for participating.
Yeah, once again, thanks, Tony. I just wanted to pass along my personal regards and thank you to everybody for attending tonight. I just wanted to also pass along to the audience that generally what we try to do when we schedule these events, because we're getting some questions on when the next one will be, is we try to hold these the last Tuesday of the month. We've been holding to that pretty well. It doesn't always work out that way, but generally that's the case. And if you're on our email list, you'll be getting contacted from us at ASE with the topic, and we keep trying to mix these up, and we do look at the surveys. We try to schedule these webinars based on the feedback we get from you, the people that are so graciously attending these and spending their time with us in the evening. So hopefully we've shared some things with you tonight. On behalf of Dan Baumhart, Tony Molla, and myself, and ASE, we're signing off, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again for attending.